Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all well. It's Denise here again on Saturday. It's the 21st of November, 2020. And it's I think it's fifth in the series of talks that I felt committed to doing during lockdown. So similar to the support that we provided here in the Wellness Lounge while everyone was locked down initially in March, we said we'd continue a little bit over the second period of lockdown. So welcome everyone, and it's great to be here. And it's great to have you here with me as well. And yeah, as always, I have a little bit of a mind attack before I start these talks because they're completely like unscripted, and I have a general idea of the topic, which I only really finalized today in my mind, as you might have seen. So the notification for this went out quite late, and yeah, I thought about this topic during the week actually, because there was a lot of kind of talk of guilt and shame in my seeming reality. So I had some talks about it myself with people, and then in the media there was all this I suppose public shaming, or focus on leaked videos where people were talking about victim shaming and blaming and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of that happening here this week. So you're very welcome. It's great to have you here. As always, feel free to pop anything in the chat. I can keep an eye on it here if you have any questions or comments. So really tonight we're talking about freedom from guilt and shame. So yeah, it's a big topic. And I, as I was kind of in my mind and probably overthinking it before this live, I just realized that all I need to do is talk about myself. These talks are actually quite revolutionary for me, because it's not that I'm not familiar with talking. It's part of what I have done for a living for a long time, standing up, presenting, facilitation, coaching. That's what I do in my professional life. And these talks in the Wellness Lounge actually, give me a chance to talk about what I'm learning on a personal level. So it's actually, I feel quite more exposed and vulnerable, I suppose, in this setting, because it's me talking about me. So when you're facilitating and presenting, you're talking about your career, different people, examples. But in this setting, I'm here to talk about what I'm learning, and sharing that with you. So I'm not here as an expert. I've said that. And for anyone that's new and hasn't been here before, I'm not an expert in anything really. My business is focused around change and helping people to do change better. And my life has been a series of different changes, but the main one has been my absolute focus on finding peace in my mind. That has been with me since I was actually probably early teens, to be honest, and this is part of, hi Grania, this is part of what I want to share with you tonight. So we're talking about guilt and shame and how to be free from that, and in my experience there is no quick fix. Like, there's no, well, actually there is if you study A Course in Miracles, but I'll just share with you my own journey, and I will bring us onto A Course in Miracles, which is where I'm at right now. So yeah, since I was like probably 12 or 13, I felt I was looking for something, something that would, ease my mind. And actually, look, I would realize it now, I was looking for peace, and finding, who I really was, and finding that sense of peace within myself. but that brought me down a lot of different roads, and has brought me to right here to where I am today, which is fine. It's all good. So by the time I was 20, I had found a spiritual way of living, because I was probably going to die if I didn't change the way I was living my life. So that was the end of my relationship with alcohol and drugs. And I began a spiritual way of living, and happy to talk to anyone about that on a side note if anyone wants to message me about how that works. So at that point, I met some really great people who started to show me, how to love myself, and forgive myself. And that's where it began for me. I had spent, my teenage years up to my formative years, really, up to when I was 20, living a life of excess in a lot of ways. And hi, Jackie, thank you. And by the time I was 20, I was riddled with guilt and shame, and hated myself. I hated the person I'd become, and couldn't understand what was going on. And actually wanted to be dead. I really did. Like, I used to kind of wake up in the morning and kind of going, I can't do this. Like, I can't do another day of this. So I was in a very dark place. But I met some very blessed people and found a great, program to help me to rebuild my life, which I did, and haven't had to look back since. But it introduced me to the idea of a spiritual way of living that I had to try and open my mind to. Like, there was talk of God, and I was just like, oh no, like, here we go. I didn't believe in God. I just thought, okay, if there was a God, he wouldn't really want to know someone like me anyway, and that was as far as my spirituality went. But I was told, like, to find a God of my understanding, and right back then, I remember, okay, going, right, like, I was encouraged to think of, there's a power greater than me in this universe somewhere, that maybe created the sky or the stars, or and I know some people might say, well, that's all as a result of science, and I'm not here to enter into the debating society about any of this. I'm just here to share what I can share. And yeah, I kind of felt, yeah, well, there is something bigger and better than me. I don't know what it is, but happy to acknowledge that. And that was just where it started. That was it. That was all I needed. Just a bit of willingness to admit that, there maybe is something bigger and better than me out there. And that has grown and grown and grown over the years. And I've explored, different ways of looking at the world, different definitions of God, spirituality. I wouldn't consider myself a religious person. Obviously, was baptized, raised Catholic. Will hopefully go to Christmas Mass because it's a tradition. It's the only time I personally go to Mass, but I love Christmas. I love the celebration. But back that time when I was 20, as I have shared here before, hi Andrew, thank you. I was introduced to the idea of God being separate from religion, which kind of blew my mind, and Jesus even being separate from religion, which was just really, really, really way out there. And I was taught about that from, people who had lived very difficult lives and who had found a way to be happy and content in this world. And I just really wanted what they had, and I realized I was going to have to try it on and see. So, back in those days, I had a mentor in my life, and Paddy, and he used to kind of say, because I was full of guilt and remorse and shame for the daughter I had become, the person I'd become, at a very young age, and he used to talk about Jesus, and I used to kind of think, oh, I don't even know if Jesus existed. I don't even know anything, and I'm not here to take out the Bible and bash that around the place or anything like that. I don't know scriptures. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about this relationship with Jesus that, for me, that started when I was 20. And for me, it represents this loving forgiveness that was inside that I had to find for myself, And over the years, I worked on that. I worked on. Um, I found I had to talk to people that I trusted about the things that were really troubling me. The things I really was ashamed of. And I found out, there's a saying, we're as sick as our secrets. And it's about not having any secrets really, and having someone that you can share those secrets with, the really, really bad things that you feel make you a bad person, where you've lied, cheated, stole, hurt people, whatever it is. For some people it's violence, for some people it's self-harm, for other people it's, infidelity, it's secrecy, addiction, whatever, um and I believe, everybody has something. I think everybody has something that deep down they feel that makes them feel maybe not worthy or not good enough, that brings that, hopefully, the benefit of that is that if you bring it out into the light and talk about it, it can bring you to a place where you learn how to let go of that stuff. Um so yeah, so that was like me as a 20-year-old. So then, I was in my 30s, I was raising my child, I was, working on my career, getting the house, all that kind of stuff. I was doing this as a single parent, had great support. I have great support from my family always, and um, my daughter's grandparents were around for most of that, as well, are still around. Sorry, and just, had a lot of family support, which is good. And at the end of the day, I started to realize that the guilt and the shame was still kind of there beneath the surface, and that there were different scenarios then that started to present themselves in my life that brought up more guilt and more shame. Even though I had changed my pathway and I changed the lifestyle that I was living, there were still situations that for me, and they might be different for someone else. Like someone else might go, "Oh God, that's nothing. Like what are you worried about?" But for me, I felt ashamed and guilty, and it was still there. And I kind of felt like, there was part of my life that I was ashamed of and part of my life that was okay. And I was all these kind of different parts, and I felt disjointed at times. So I'm trying to make a long story very short here, but, you know, cut to, um, the last 12 months and in particular this year, I had a challenging situation that I was dealing with just before lockdown. Um, I came to a place in my life where what I was doing wasn't working anymore. Um, and I was dealing with heartbreak, loss, another failed relationship, if I'll say that. But I really, really felt like something had just collapsed in my life. That there was something that had to be looked at, and there was something that I had to do differently. And it was around then that I found A Course in Miracles. Um, and I'll just talk about that a little bit because I don't know, I'm all this is very new to me. Like even coming on here and talking about A Course in Miracles, like part of me is thinking you're not qualified to talk about that. You've only started reading it this year. It's quite a complex course. There's a lot to it. Uh, like this is the book, and it kind of does look like it's kind of biblical looking, and it's just the strangest thing. I had booked a course in Limerick with a friend of mine, Gillian, here in the Wellness Lounge, um, probably late January, I would say, with this lovely woman, Elaine, from the east of Ireland, and we had a day long workshop. And I brought the book. A friend of mine gave me the book. I had the book years ago and I gave it away, and then this someone gave it to me again. And I remember sitting after the course, I said, okay, I'm going to start doing the workbook. There's 365 lessons, and it's basically positioned as a mind training program. And like I sat outside a cafe in Limerick and read lesson one. I read the intro, but the first lesson is basically says nothing I see means anything, and it's just the strangest. It's the strangest program. Like it's the strangest thing, but I don't know, I really, really, really felt just so drawn to this. And like, I have done a lot of spiritual work on myself. I've done a lot of therapy. I've had, a lot of support in my life, as I've shared on here, like to get me to where I am now. And where I am now is like I have my on the outside things obviously look well and good and happy, but on the inside I'm happy, which is important because I've had things on the outside before and internally being a complete mess. I could be there again tomorrow, like who knows, but I really feel a sense of peace in my life these days that, I know comes from within, and the course really, really starts to resonate with me. It is challenging. It's different. I reached out then eventually after a few months. I found other people that were doing it, and I was able to talk to them about it. But I basically just listened. I found speakers on YouTube, and I just listened to hours and hours and hours of it every day. I still do. Like, I feel like my mind is open to what this book has to say, and the language is quite religious in it, and it could turn people off that way, and that's what I've kind of said to people. But the main focus of this book and this course is about forgiveness, but not forgiveness as we see it in the world, like not forgiveness of, oh, you did something wrong to me, I'm going to try really hard to forgive you, because I'm a good person and I know we all make mistakes. And I've had to do that. I've had to do that for myself. I had like 20 odd years of a journey before I got to this course, because this course actually kind of turns all that on its head. And I don't know if I would have been ready for that when I was 20, or maybe I would, I don't know. I listened to a lot of Muji over the years, went to see him as well. I just found I couldn't quite grasp the teaching, and I have friends who have, and oh, more power to them. But the Course in Miracles for me kind of got me, and it talks about forgiving your brother, like we're all brothers in the language of the Course, for what he hasn't done. You know, it talks about this world that we see through our eyes, that we perceive as being an illusion, and that reality is actually quite different to what we think it is. And the course goes about then unwinding our mind to see truly, what we're all about, and um the only reason I'm doing this is to find peace, is to find the peace I've been looking for all my life, and I've had definite periods of great peace, like don't get me wrong, I've a great life, like and like, thank God I have everything I need and want, for today. So, but the course helped me to find this real, true, lasting peace that's really not of this world. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was like forgiveness, because the main thing with guilt and shame for me is the forgiveness of ourselves for what we think we've done, and that can be quite challenging, and I think it can really hold us back in life if deep down we feel unworthy. And if people see, this is the realm of the ego, which the ego mind, like the ego that's not connected to our true source, will tell us that, you know, if people really knew what we were really like, they wouldn't love us, So it works very hard to create this persona of likability. And every now and then the mask might drop and people might, you might feel judged and you might feel, oh God, I shot myself in the foot there, and people saw me without my mask, my metaphorical mask. So uh, I'm here attempting to explain something that I'm only really learning myself, but I'm here and I feel I've been drawn to doing these talks and I hope this is making sense to people. But let me just read a little bit about what forgiveness. So there's lesson 134 in the book. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. There's different lines here. because you think your sins are real, you look on pardon as deception. For it is impossible to think of sin as true and not believe forgiveness is a lie. Thus is forgiveness really but a sin like all the rest. It says the truth is false and smiles on the corrupt as if they were as blameless as the grass, as white as snow. It is delusional in what it thinks it can accomplish. It would see as right the plainly wrong, the loathsome as the good. So it's talking about the absolute futility of just trying to forgive people in this world, like as humans, because it can be next to near impossible for us to truly, truly, really forgive ourselves or others, because back in the back of our mind, if we forgive someone, we still kind of see, yeah, I forgive them, but I don't forget, or it's still there. Or if I forgive myself, it's like it can raise its head up again every now and then. You know what I mean? So it's talking here about forgiveness being the only thing that stands for truth in the illusions of the world. It sees their nothingness and looks straight through the thousand forms in which they may appear. It looks on lies, but it is not deceived. It does not heed the self-accusing shrieks of sinners mad with guilt. It looks on them with quiet eyes and merely says to them, "My brother, what you think is not the truth." And I just find with this course, like with learning this, what you think is not the truth, then it really moves me on to go, okay, well, what is the truth? If sin isn't real, sin, again, it's very religious terminology, but hopefully you can overlook that. If that's all an illusion, so if this world is an illusion and I'm creating it through projections of my mind, and I'm projecting my guilt outwards and creating this world that I see, then what is actually real? And it goes back to one of the first things I heard when I read this course that just was a lifeline to me, that basically said nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists, and therein lies the peace of God. So I remember listening to that and going, nothing real can be threatened. So there's a part of me which I firmly believe that is unthreatenable. It's invulnerable. It cannot ever, and never has been and never will be, shaken or stirred or condemned. It doesn't even know about so-called sin. It doesn't even know about all these bad things that have happened or that I've done or that people have done to me. It's beyond that. And I guess it's taken me a long time to kind of start to realize what that is. That what is that nothing real that can be threatened. So where is that? And who am I then? Who does that make me? Is that me? Am I part of that? Or am I separate to that? And it's taken me on a wonderful journey. As I said, I'm learning, I'm teaching and sharing what I'm learning. I felt hugely drawn to doing these talks. I shared it in the first talk. I was out for a run and I nearly ran home to start the talk. I got this huge inspiration from inside, to start doing the talks again. And I just hope that these help people, to understand that yes, we may feel we have done things wrong or people have wronged us, and I'm not denying that. Like, I have lived and suffered the pain of that, for many days, weeks, months, years of my life. I've been there, and I just have found another way of looking at that actually really, really challenges me to kind of see beyond what's happening in my perception and in my mind, and to see, is there another way of looking at things? And there is, there absolutely is a way that brings you to that place within yourself that is just, peace, love, not love like, oh, I love you because I want something from you, or I love you, don't leave me, or this just absolute, connection to source and love that I feel is within every single person, because we are all we're all one, really. You know, we're all made of the same stuff. So, you know, there is another piece that I just wanted to read. I just wanted to close out on this this evening. So I hope you have enjoyed the talk. I hope it has made some sense. So I suppose for me, the release from guilt and shame has been, you know, a big part of my journey, and I'm finding huge freedom lately. You know, as I said, psychotherapy has been part of it. I shared a quote from Carl Jung today on my Instagram. You know, a good therapist as well will help you to bring the unconscious out into the light, which is what we're trying to do. And the course talks about that as well. We're bringing our unconscious mind and thoughts, beliefs out into the light, and that is not really pretty or easy, because it's stuff that, like, our ego mind and thought system really wants to keep. It wants to protect that, because without that, there's no guilt, there's no shame, there's nothing for us to feel bad about. You know, because when we start to realize we are this eternal source of love, and that's who we really are, everything starts to change from there. You know, so what is forgiveness? And I'm just going to read this and we'll close out on this. Forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother did to you has not occurred. It does not pardon sins and make them real. It sees there was no sin. And in that view are all your sins forgiven. What is sin except a false idea about God's Son? Forgiveness merely sees its falsity and therefore lets it go. What then is free to take its place is now the will of God. An unforgiving thought is one which makes a judgment that it will not raise to doubt, although it is not true. The mind is closed and will not be released. The thought protects projection, tightening its chains so that distortions are more veiled and more obscure, less easily accessible to doubt, and further kept from reason. What can come between a fixed projection and the aim that it has chosen as its wanted goal? Hi, Katrina. Thank you for your feedback. An unforgiving thought does many things. In frantic action, it pursues its goal, twisting and overturning what it sees as interfering with its chosen path. Distortion is its purpose and the means by which it would accomplish it as well. It sets about its furious attempts to smash reality without concern for anything that would appear to pose a contradiction to its point of view. So, what is forgiveness then? This is beautiful. This is like one of my favorite pieces to read. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is still and quietly does nothing. It offends no aspect of reality, nor seeks to twist it to appearances it likes. It merely looks and waits and judges not. He who would not forgive must judge, for he must justify his failure to forgive. But he who would forgive himself must learn to welcome truth exactly as it is. Do nothing then, and let forgiveness show you what to do, through him who is your guide, your saviour and protector, strong in hope and certain of your ultimate success. He has forgiven you already, as for such is his function, given him by God. Now you must share his function and forgive whom he has saved, whose sinlessness he sees, and whom he honours as the Son of God. So yeah, as I said, it's quite religious in its terminology, but I think, you know, the hope that we can take from that is that, you know, this is certain for those of us who want this. And I have wanted this for a long time in my life. You know, I've wanted this peace, this real peace that just can't be taken or disturbed. And that's, you know, where I feel I've been brought to for today in my life, and that can all change, you know, I know that. But I'm really working on staying as close to this as possible because it feels good and it's, you know, it's where I want to be. So thank you for being here. I wish you all well in your week, and I will see you back here next week. It's probably the last of the Saturday nights because we'll be all out doing stuff from now after next week, hopefully. But I will be doing more talks again, and I would like to hear from you if you have any topics or anything you'd like to hear about. All of these things are archived, they're all saved on the Wellness Lounge. So enjoy, have a great evening, and thanks for being here. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.